Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Today is Monday. It is September 11th, and Spirit has been on me lately to come on and do videos. It's been very stressful. I've been going through a lot of psychic changes lately. Um, definitely, definitely a lot. I've been doing a lot of like clearing work and things like that uh, of my own energy so that I can be um, better equipped, better prepared to do readings for you, for my clients, my personal clients, stuff like that. And it's just been a lot happening. Um, I don't know if you have this experience or not. I feel like there's been like a lot of people going through this, but it just feels like there is some kind of psychic um reset is the word that I would use. I do know that there are a lot of people who talk about doing 5D, going from 3D to 5D. What does that mean? There are people who talk about going on a different timeline. Um, I don't really, um, how do I want to put it? I don't really know that I don't know what to call it, right? But I do think that whatever language you use for this, there's definitely huge amounts of changes that are happening uh, on the world, on the planet, with people psychically, mentally, emotionally, like people um, just I don't really know how to describe it in terms. I just know that Spirit wanted me to come on, and I was thinking that I was going to pull cards and see what it is that we wanted to talk about today. Uh, so the first thing is the Knight of Wands, which to me, Spirit is saying that there's a lot of energy coming in, a lot of mental energy, but just a lot of energy in general, and it can feel kind of crazy for people. Um, because the Knight of Swords is this guy who is just charging in, right? And so it has to do with all the energy that's kind of rushing in at people, and it can make you kind of nuts, right? I mean, Mercury is retrograde right now, and I'm a Virgo rising, so Mercury is retrograde in my sign, which it's been pretty crazy, right? Because of all that. So, plus my birthday is coming, and the sun is being conjunct Pluto, my natal Pluto, so it's a lot of like transformation. Pluto is in my 12th house, so it is a lot about all of that kind of, um, you know, hidden psychic changes, like all of that. But it's a lot. It's a huge kind of transformation. But this is a card that would show up really like for everybody, right? That there's a lot of energy coming in. There's a lot of planets that are retrograde. There's a lot of, which means change anyway, right? And it can be different if you are born with the planet retrograde. It could be beneficial for you if whatever the planet is, whether it's Jupiter, whether it is Pluto, whether it's Mercury, whatever. If you're born with that planet retrograde, then when it becomes retrograde, it can be more beneficial for you. But, I tell people I'm not an astrologer. I work as a psychic. The timer just went past 4.44, so that'd be 4:44. It means that things are happening for you. Your guides, your spirits are around you, and they are helping you to manifest. So if you're watching this right this very second, then that's good news for you. All right. Um, so next, King of Wands, it's important to be focusing on yourself. And, there's a lot of energy that's coming in, but, King of Wands would say that it can be important for you to stay focused, to own your own energy, be very much more like vigilant. This would tell me to be, make sure that you're staying grounded, right? It is air and fire, right? Fire requires air in order to do things, right? So it can be a good time to be accomplishing things that are personal for you, more kinds of inner work, right? We are having this new moon, there's an eclipse coming up, there's all this kind of like things on, so paying attention to all of that, right? Especially we just went through the what they refer to as the 9/9 portal, right? Um, 9 month, 9th day. There's a whole thing with that. So hope you burned a candle or made an intention, set an intention for these things, right? So, right. So the Devil card. The Devil to me is about limitations and restrictions. It's a big card that has to do with a power struggle, right? And as somebody that is a witch, the the horn god is the stag, right? So this to me has been showing up in terms of the god energy, like in terms of um, you know the animals and nature and things like that, right? Male energy, right? Knight of Swords, King of Wands, the Devil ruled by Capricorn, right? So Capricorn is all about their standing in the community, right? So this can be a time period where you are needing to look at what it is that you're doing in the community, how you are participating or not participating, right? Whatever it is that is beneficial for you. You could be with the Knight of Wands here, with the King of Wands here, rather, you could be being put more into the public eye lately because of all the things that are going on, right? And the Devil card, it is a card that has to do with a big kind of like power struggle, right? So, and I would say that with this power struggle, it's probably not necessarily things that are external, it's probably more things that are internal, right? It is something that would affect you outside, right? Because every time you have something going on the inside, it's definitely going to affect what is going on outside. You're having this, massive struggle, like, who am I? What am I about, right? All of that kind of thing, right? And then it's going to cause you to change how you are interacting with the world, right? So this is going to be a huge, it's going to, Spirit says it's going to have huge implications on what you're doing out there in the world, right? How you are perceiving the world is in the process of changing as well, right? Because Spirit is telling me that there's going to be a lot of people who are receiving psychic downloads, right? Which means, if you don't know what that means, it means that Spirit is giving us information, and it can come across as an epiphany. It can come across as, oh, I had this dream last night, or it depends on how you get your information. Everybody is psychic differently. Some people are clairvoyant. They see things, so you may have visions, which could come in as like dream time, could come in as that kind of a thing. Or if you could be being more prone to daydreaming too, and receiving information that way. Right? Just different things happening like that. So I would tell you to just see how you can go slow. I'm not saying like a snail's pace, but sometimes with this kind of energy going on, right, it's like you may very well have to do like baby steps, right? But with this like Knight of Swords, it's the energy wants to go really fast, right? And the King of Wands is also fire, right? So like just want to go, right? But the King of Wands is somebody who is more in charge of his energy, right? So this is showing me here more the way that I'm getting it in my head. Spirit is telling me that it's a lot about temperance, right? Temper your need to like kind of like rush, right? Make sure what your motivation is right now. And sorry about the AC going on around here. But yeah, make sure you understand what your motivation is, what you're going toward, right? Um, there can be there can be things that are coming up here that want you to participate in groups, is what I'm being told right now. So you may not necessarily want to be participating in the groups, right? So especially if your psychic ability is kicking up some, right? If you're operating as an empath, feeling what other people feel, right? It's not really going to be comfortable. So, you know, you're going to have to kind of like temper how you're doing that, right? Be aware of how you're doing that. Um, so I don't know. This also makes me feel like there can be a lot of people out here who are trying to like change jobs and stuff like that, um, or changing what it is that they're doing, right? Because part of the King of Wands in and of itself is ruled by the sign of Leo, right? So it's like I want to be in charge. They're all about, the sun revolves around them, right? Um, so I just know what I'm getting here. Like Spirit is telling me that there can be a lot of people out there who are looking to change jobs and things like that, and they're like, "Oh, like I want to change my job, but I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do." Right? The Devil card, meaning like limitations and restrictions, things like that, temptation, all these kinds of things. Right? So, what I'm being told is to kind of sit with yourself, take your time, look inside, see what it is that's going on in there, right? Because there's a lot of internal changes going on in here, right? So, again, Seven of Wands is a card that has a lot to do with everything kind of coming at you, right? But it's also, it's a card about persistence, right? It's a card that can come up connected to conflicts and things like that as well. So, um, it's just really important that you are, what I'm being told here is that it is important for you to be taking care of yourself, taking care of your health, taking care of, paying attention to the things that you are eating, right? And because when people are like stressed out, right, food can actually become toxic. Um, just because of the whole like stress and stuff like that. It's like, so you want to make sure that you're taking time, like sitting down when you're eating, not standing up, not rushing, right? Just making sure that you're taking care of like you right now, right? And coffee. Yep, 1:30 in the morning, drinking coffee. So yes, the Two of Swords to me is a card about separation. Right? It is a card that can come up connected to things happening over the course of the next like 2 months. Right? There's a moon up there, which says that pay attention to the new moon that is coming up here. Right? However, twos are about relationships, and the Two of Swords usually comes up for me in terms of like separation, right? Doesn't have to be a physical kind of a separation. It can be an emotional separation, right? But it is about somebody who has like trust issues. This woman has her hands over her heart, so trust issues going on around that whole thing, right? And with, you can see all the water in the background here. So this can be a very emotional time period right now, even though this is swords. It can be a very emotional time period. Um, that's the way that it feels to me. Is like just um, the word the spirit wants to use is nebulous. There's all this kind of like emotion running around out here in the ethos and stuff like that, and so it can be important to pay attention to what is yours and what isn't yours, right? um, Make sure that you're like clearing your energy. I've been doing a lot of that myself. I am a Reiki master, so I've been doing a lot of kind of clearing my chakras, clearing my energy, um, things like that, because it's just a lot. It's just like a lot of planetary activity going on out there, and just, because everybody is going through it, right? Um, it's going to affect the masses, right? So if it were just, if this was just like small things happening, right? It might be just another day, right? But it's not. It is definitely not just another day. It's not, oh, the planets are just like moving through the sky, doing their thing, right? No, there are huge, huge changes that are affecting people, right? And it's like, you may not necessarily think that you have a lot going on, right? But people that you're interacting with, they could have like huge things that are happening with them, and so therefore it can be a domino effect, right? So then that does end up affecting you, right? So just be aware of what it is that's going on around you. Um, my father passed away a few years ago. I can hear him in my head being like get your ducks in line. Just, you know, which means, like watch your P's and Q's, all those kinds of things, right? So we have all of that going on. Ten of Swords, again, like taking care of your health. Right? Ten of Swords can be a very stressful thing. Ten of Swords is also a card that has to do with like endings as well, right? So you may not necessarily want things to be ending, but this feels to me like things are ending, like a lot of things are ending, and this doesn't feel like they are ending for the worse. It feels like things are ending in order to be bringing in better things, right? The next card up is the Chariot card, right? So again, I don't know if I said this, it was running around in my head, but the Chariot card is a card about movement. It's a card that can bring up travel for people, especially with the King of Wands here sitting on top of it. You could be like traveling in order to help you to be more in charge, right? Or investigating things in different states. Usually when the Chariot card comes up and it's connected to travel, it's usually travel for me anyway. Different people read different ways. This is a card that can be connected to travel to different states, right? So whether you're traveling to another state, you could be interacting, like somebody else could be talking to you from a different state, right? But or somebody's coming from a different state to you, right? But the Chariot card in and of itself is it has a lot to do with how you are moving forward, right? It is a lot about leaving things behind, right, and moving yourself forward in a balanced way, right? It's like you have the two sphinxes up front here, one black, one white, right? So it's about balance. The Chariot is ruled by the sign of Cancer, so so again, it is emotional things, right? But it is about moving forward, right? So we do talk about possibilities about actual travel, stuff like that, right? But it is about moving forward, right? Especially with the Ten of Swords sitting there. To me, it would be about movement, because if things are too stressful where you're at, right? The Ten of Swords is the past, then moving forward into the Chariot card. So it would be about moving away from the stress. And I use the Ten of Swords a lot for mental, emotional stress made physical. So when it shows up, I usually tell people it's like, if you stay where you are in this like stuckness, right, then you could end up getting sick from the stuckness, right? So just be aware of what it is that you're doing. There's definitely a walking away here. The Eight of Cups is a card that talks about looking on the inside, right? The eights are related to money, finances, stuff like that. Looking to be fed emotionally, because this is Cups, looking to be fed emotionally by what it is that you do, right? Especially because the Devil card is on top of it. So, moving away from power struggles, things like that, right? Or you may be having difficulty because it is a power struggle, right? And it's sitting on top of this card. So you may have difficulty moving forward, but the Seven of Wands is there. So it is about like staying persistent in what it is that you're doing, right? You are being called, right? The Judgment card here, it is about being called to do something else. This is Gabriel. Gabriel is the messenger. The being in the coffins is an old life. It's kind of like a death and rebirth thing, right? But it's like you're being called to do something more right now, right? And it's funny because we have these two cards, and then this card is like sitting like this, right? So it's like you're being called to do something else. It's persistent. The call is persistent, right? Again, like, we're talking about travel, right? We're talking about things, possibility of separation here, right? And sometimes I look at this in terms of the Moses effect. It's like, that has happened to me like so many times in my life, right? It's like, I feel the universe calling me, and I'm somebody, I tell people I argue with God. God always wins. And they're like, oh, we want you to go do this, we want you to go do this. I'm like, no, like, you got the wrong guy. I'm not doing that. And like, we argue back and forth for like a week. Then all of a sudden it goes quiet. And I'm like, okay, I win. Right? And then, go through the maze, and then I end up in the place where they want me to be anyway, so I end up having to do what they want me to do, right? So if you're feeling the call to go someplace, right, and it's a major arcana, so it's a strong thing happening right now, right? Because you do have the Devil card, you have the Chariot card, you do have the Judgment, right? So it does say, don't be afraid of making a mistake, right? Because the call is being persistent, right? So just keep moving forward. King of Cups, right? There's a lot of male energy running around here, right? And so the King of Cups is, whether you're male or female, right? It doesn't necessarily matter, right? King of Wands, right? Doesn't matter if you're male, female, whatever, right? It is about you being in charge, right? And taking care of you and your health and all these kinds of things, right? King of Cups, most psychic king in the deck, right? But even if you are female, right, it's like, it's a lot of like strong emotions that are kind of coming at you right now, right? And so the King of Cups tells me that it's telling me that things are going to end up being okay. There will be a sense of emotional balance, right? Twos are, they are trust issues, but it is a two. So there is going to be a sense of balance around things on an emotional level. But it is important that you're following your emotions as well, right? So let's see what else is happening here with this other deck. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Let's see. Okay. Princess of Wands is a card that has to do with communication. Right? So there's a lot of like travel. This card. I usually use this as like a spark of new life. I feel like it is a card that can be related to like Sagittarian for some reason or another. It doesn't say Sagittarius on it, but that's just the way that it feels to me. But it's definitely about, you know, communication and on a wild ride, and it feels like somebody who is like very active in their life. So again, we're dealing with that kind of energy. The Emperor, a lot about control. Right? This is a card that represents the father as well, but it's a card that has to do with institutions. Can be military, can be banks, can be like all kinds of things like that. People who are in charge, right? So this is about you going into places in your life where you get to be in charge, right? So with it sitting next to this devil card, it can be people who are, you know, whoever your bosses are, stuff like that, who are trying to hold you back and things like that, right? People who are like, because it's a control freak card, right? So, but the next card up is about the justice, right? So things are trying to balance out. It will talk about you being in a period of transition in your life, and here you go, right? Ace of Pentacles, this is kind of used for like new money, so like new jobs, things like that going on around here. It can be, as this woman I used to work with used to say, blessings around money, right? So the Hermit card is interesting. I use it for whatever you learn, social you teach, right? It is kind of about like doing things on your own, feeling alone, being alone, all this kind of stuff. It's ruled by the sign of Virgo, right? It's my card. I am Virgo, right? And so when this card shows up, I tell people it's like, you know, people can say, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. It's like, yeah, well, I'll show you, right? It's about somebody who's kind of like wandering around in the dark, right? It's definitely an internal kind of like spiritual journey type of card, right? But it's a card about leading by example, right? So people may be saying you can't, you can't, you can't, right? But it's like you're being pushed, you're being called. So it is going to be a time period about like getting out of your own way and doing things on your own, right? This is Seven of Wands is futility, right? I use it as a fear of moving forward, right? It can feel like there's a lot of like criticism around you, right? Things like that going on. But you have the Chariot, you have the Seven, so there are actually 3 sevens here. So 3 sevens can bring up international travel, actually, right? Then you have the Eight of Swords, or the 8. Well, this is kind of about triumph. It's new ideas coming in around you. It's sitting with the Emperor card, so it will be about new ideas about how to be in control as well, right? How to get information, right? So we're talking earlier about like downloads. We're talking about intuition, dream time, things like that, right? So paying attention to those things. We have another Seven of Wands, right? Again, this is a card about persistence. It's a card about conflict, right? This is a card that can bring up things connected to your legs, especially your knees, so be careful about those things. But your legs also have to do with how you support yourself, especially your knees have to do with how you support yourself. So this is connected with the Justice card, so how you're supporting yourself very well be going through a period of transition, right? Whether you are supporting yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, like that, or if you're, however it is that you're, um, whether it is through your job or other ways, um, how you're supporting yourself could end up becoming different. So the Princess of Discs is a card that can bring up things connected to education. It's sitting with the Ace of Pentacles, so there could be money coming in for your education, right? Or there could be money coming in because of your education. If you're finishing school, right? Because we're talking about things that are ending, right? So this is a card that has a lot to do with creative energy. This woman feels like pregnant here, right? So we're not saying that you are pregnant or whatever, although you could be, but it's a card that has to do with being pregnant, in terms of like your job, your money, your finances, things like that, right? So this looks like it's going to be a very good time for physical things, right? We were talking about things in terms of like your health, taking care of your health, people becoming like stronger, health improving, these kinds of things, right? Especially because it is a time period where makes me feel like people are either taking care of their health more or they're being called to take care of their health. So that's a good thing. The two of Pentacles, right? Another two. So this has a lot to do with like balancing things, juggling things, right? Especially it's sitting with the King of Cups here, right? So there can be a lot of juggling things connected to your job and also your emotions as well, right? But it just feels like there's a lot going on, right? Like you said earlier, right? A lot of changes happening with people, a lot of things being up in the air. So just like a whole lot of things going on. But this does look like things are in the process of trying to balance themselves out. So I'm going to pull 5 other cards just to kind of see what else like Spirit wants to talk to us about today. This definitely has this feeling about education, right? They're talking about reading, but reading something new, looking at something new, getting new information. So it's going to be aware of what it is that you're doing like that, seeking out different information, whether you're reading books or whether you're looking at things online, right? It is about getting new information from different sources, right? So because this is a big time period about death and rebirth, right? So it's like doors closing, new doors opening. So it's going to be important that you're talking to other people, new people in your life, right? Or seeking out different people, right? Because if the people are already in your life, then you're not talking to new people, right? So, so, because I said talking to new people in your life, right? So, but it's about seeking out new people, right? To be able to help you to get, what they call like second opinions about things, right? But it's definitely a lot about kind of, getting out of your own way, getting out of your comfort zone. I'm kind of surprised the Nine of Swords didn't show up because that's what that is all about. Sorry. So, what else? Home, people could be moving, right? But this is a card about stability as well. So it's about maintaining your stability in terms of your energy, right? King of Swords, this can bring up like legal things as well. King of Swords would say for you to be clear, be like straightforward, right? Because he's the only king that looks forward in the deck, right? So making sure that you're like going straight forward, right? Not like kind of what I'm being told here is not to be zigzagging, right? So not manipulating things, not trying to, um, what Spirit says is like mixing and matching, right? So, um, Page of Cups, Page of Cups usually comes up connected to, it can be communication connected to emotions as well, new beginnings or new communication issues related to like children as well, um, or I'm getting my signals crossed. Um, because this feels like it's being connected to like younger people, things like that, right? So, but it may be like new ideas, new projects coming in, right? Things that are feeding you emotionally, right? So, you know how people say like, oh, this is my baby, right? My pet project, right? So things like that, right? But there can be things that have come up that are connected to children too, right? So, um, like, but like in terms of like mentoring people, things like that, right? Um, it it's telling me about like new blood coming in, right? Um, so like if you have your own business or in your if you're in like corporate America, things like that, right? It's like don't be afraid of bringing in like new people, getting new ideas, right? Um, you know, because it keeps coming up here about like different perspectives happening, right? So, so that's being interesting to me, right? Um, okay. Um, so today is 9/11, and so we do have the Four of Pentacles, which is a card that is connected to New York. Um, so, but this is kind of about holding on to money. It can be a card that's connected to um, changing things, changing things around your home. It's kind of the use of like changing furniture, moving furniture, construction, things like that, kind of thing. Whatever. When I looked at it, I'm like, ugh, it feels like the whole kind of um, landscape is in the process of changing. It makes me feel like people are, it just makes me feel like there's a lot of people around the country who are like, just like a lot of movement. Like I'm just seeing these people going from here to here to here to here to here to here. Um, just like ants. Um, ants are very strong, they're very resilient, right? They can lift things like 50 times their weight, they say, you know, whatever that's all about. And there's a lot of work here trying to get things done. Spirit says that there's a lot of like technological changes happening right now, so it is going to bring in different changes in terms of the work climate. Um, the way that people are communicating more online, things like that. There's going to be different things in through the end of, we're going through 2024 in through February, March of 2025. They're talking about a lot of changes that are happening here technologically, and how there can be different programs, different apps, paying attention to security, right? Like technological security, right? Making sure that you are, you know, keeping track of like passwords, because if, you know, things of that nature, right? just whatever it is that um, technology and protecting yourself through new forms of technology that are coming in, right? So we're not just talking about AI here, right? We do know that there are a lot of people out there who are very concerned about AI taking over, right? And we're not talking about that, right? We are talking about other forms of like communication. We're talking about other kinds of apps that people can use, different kinds of programs that people can use in order to get their job done faster, better, things like that. Um, just it just feels like between now and 2025, like the second, third month, February, March, there's just a lot of things that are going on around here. Technology wise, there's going to be a lot more requirement for people to learn about technology, how to access things technologically. So more things being done like online, less things being done in person, um, things like that. A lot of medical things being done um, online, things like that. So there can be different ways of testing yourself um, um, through computers and stuff like that. It's really very interesting to us to watch these things happening. Um, it just feels like the whole landscape of the world is in the process of changing. Whether this is going to look like more um, electric vehicles or things like that, transportation changes, things like that. Um, New York is very well known for um, financial things, Wall Street, stuff like that, but also things connected to the arts as well, right? So um, there can be a lot of it feels to me like there's a lot of money being put out here. Um, a lot of different kinds of different financial investments being made. Um, there can be a big kind of when we say explosion, we're not talking about like a literal explosion, but um, like explosions in the art world, right? Um, Bigger, different kinds of things, right? Like I'm not really sure what that is all about. It just feels like there's a lot of stuff. Uh, there can be different discoveries about art, art that was hidden. Um, if you are in the art world, right, it can be important that you are, taking care of things like security wise, right? Um, Making sure that things are not being like stolen, things like that, because it feels to me like there are like I'm looking at New York and then things happening over in Europe as well. There can be a lot of like movement in terms of like art and stuff like that. Um, Art pieces that are here that are going over there, art that's over there, traveling to other places over there. Um, so just things are not things are definitely not staying the same, and they feel like they are major, huge kinds of changes that are happening around here. um, they are telling me that the next president is going to be a surprise. Whoever it is. All right. So personally, I do not follow politics. All right. Sorry, I just got taken over by a spirit. I was literally like hijacked. So, like, I'm not really like politically inclined. I don't even know when the next election is. Right? But I was like, what are you talking about here? Um, I don't even know who's running. If there's a thing like that going on, right? That whole thing was just like very weird to me. Um, wow. I don't even know what to do with that, people. Um, what does it mean, like dark horse? Like um, somebody kind of coming, like if there's like a horse race or something like that, and somebody's coming up from in back and kind of like winning. You're not expecting this person to win, but then this person wins, and it feels like something like that. So I don't know. That's like strange. Whatever. I wasn't expecting to channel information about that, but like I said, there are a lot of changes that are happening with me psychically, and so I have a feeling that the messages that they're wanting me to share are going to become like different. So, like I said, sometimes they want me to do things, I don't want to do it, and who cares, right? Like, I end up having to do things anyway. So, that's what we're talking about today. So, you know, wow. I'm just blown away by that message. I just don't even know. I just don't even know what to do with that. Like, wow. Um, let's see here. What were we talking about in terms of like taking care of yourself food wise? Healthy eating. Believe in yourself, right? Believe in the messages that you're getting from spirit, and speak your own truth. This is going to be important for you to be standing up for yourself, and the Ace of Wands showed up here too, which is about independence. It's a card that can come up connected to entrepreneurial things, new relationship things like that. But a big thing that has to do with like independence, stuff like that. So it's definitely going to be a lot of new beginnings running around here. So I don't know. That just took a lot out of me. All right. Good luck with that. If you like the messages, if you like what you hear here, click like, subscribe, share, all of that kind of stuff. Right? Spirit wants me to be here more often. They said I've been going through a lot, like psychically, and so I haven't been kind of like myself lately. It's like, oh, who have you been? Sorry. Anyway, take care, you two, and we'll catch you later. Thanks.